Hi everyone, welcome back to this video series, hashtag Ask a Life Coach, where I answer your question in a video. So today's question is all about validation and seeking approval from the things and people outside of us. So the question is, why is it so difficult to go from being dependent on the outside to being self-sourced in terms of validation? And this question was asked by Ashwin, who is a member of my True Self tribe, which is a free community of like-minded people. If you want to join that, the link to that will be in the description box below. I stumbled over my words there. It's a place for us to connect with like-minded people, for you to ask your questions, to receive support, and to meet and be in part of a community who truly understands you. I was really compelled to make a video on this because I have been someone who has been a victim of validation, of seeking validation from the things outside of me constantly. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to say to you is, if you are somebody who is struggling with low self-esteem, low self-worth, a low sense of self-perception, low self-image, anything to do with the symptoms of low self-esteem, naturally you're going to want to feel that sense of esteem or that sense of enoughness or value of yourself from the things outside of you. So self-esteem has a lot to do with constantly seeking validation from things outside of us. If you have higher self-esteem, you're not going to necessarily care too much if someone approves of you or validates who you are or what you're doing, because you're getting that from yourself. So if you're struggling to validate yourself and you're seeking validation and approval from the things outside of yourself, from people, from your work, from the things you accomplish, from the things that you do, then the first question to really is ask yourself is, am I struggling with low self-esteem? Do I have a low self-perception of myself? Do I see myself as someone who is unvaluable, not worthy, not good enough, inadequate in some way, shape, or form? And so I want to present to you the definition of validation according to me, which is seeking approval, recognition, affirmation outside of yourself that you are good, adequate, accurate, or good enough to then feel good about yourself or what you do. So do you see how that can be like a game of mouse, a game of chasing a mouse? What's that thing called? Oh, do you see how this can be a game of cat and mouse? There's something that you need, which is approval and validation. And so you will bend over backwards, or you will do things that you don't want to do, or you will put yourself in situations just so you can receive that feedback from people to then feel good about yourself. And you're constantly seeking, and sometimes you get it and sometimes that you don't. But then your sense of self, the way you perceive yourself, your esteem, is always fluctuating according to the validation you're getting, the approval that you're getting or you're not getting. So how do we go from stopping this vicious cycle of cat and mouse and start being self-sourced in our validation? It's really a matter of understanding that inherently, intrinsically, as a human being, every single person who's alive on this planet currently, right now, is inherently, intrinsically valuable, has value, and has worth. And the reason for this is that we live in a needs-based society. Everyone has needs, right? And if you meet a need that someone else has, then what you have is considered valuable. And then that person will give you money or give you whatever in exchange for the need that you can provide for them, that fulfills a need that they have, that meets a need that they have. And automatically you have value for that person, and they'll give you XYZ, in this case, money, approval, validation, love, acceptance, whatever. And so if you look at it as that model, is that everyone inherently has something that only you have and that you can give to somebody else who has a need for it. And the example I want to give to you is, I'm someone who's honest, and that's something I really, really like about myself, and I think that's a really high value of mine, is honesty. And however, if you're born to a family like I was, where being an honest child wasn't okay with your parents, then your parents literally devalued that inherent quality or skill that you had of being honest, because by you being honest, it was triggering them, or it was forcing them to look at something that they didn't want to look at, or that they didn't want your opinion on something. They didn't need you to tell them something that you thought or wanted to be honest about in that situation. And so if you're constantly invalidated for your own inherent skills, talents, gifts, abilities, then you'll develop a sense of poor self-esteem and a poor self-image. And then you'll want to start catering to the people environment that you're in to gain approval and recognition and validation. And when we're constantly doing this, it becomes the game of cat and mouse. So to stop this vicious cycle is to understand that inherently as a person, you have your own gifts, own talents, own skills, own abilities. And if what you had, someone else didn't need that, they automatically deemed you as invaluable or worthless. But the skills that you have, let's just say for honesty, to somebody, they really value that skill. And that skill is of great, great importance to them. And if you're around somebody like that, they see that and they value that in you and they recognize that you. So that will inherently build your self-esteem. So a lot of the reason so much of us struggle with self-esteem is because our inherent gifts, they were not needed by the people that brought us up. So we come to realize that who we are isn't valuable. And so in order for me to be valuable, I need to seek validation outside of myself. And please give me the approval that I have value, that who I am intrinsically as a person is good enough, is worthy, is deserving. And you need that constant affirmation because you're in the wrong environment, or you're born to parents who didn't see your intrinsic value as a person. So to really start being self-sourced is to ask yourself, what are my own inherent gifts, talents, abilities, skills? You know, this could be, I'm a deep listener. I'm somebody who sees the world in a different way. I'm someone who feels people's pain deeply. I'm compassionate. I'm extremely understanding. I'm very nurturing. I'm very caring. I'm really good with numbers. I'm really good with languages. What are your own inherent skills, abilities, and gifts? Okay? First, write all that down. And then to really ask yourself, does it match up to what the needs of my parents were, or the needs of the society, or the place that I'm living in right now? And if those two don't match up, you'll automatically think that you don't have value. And then you're going to start to seek your value through validation and approval from the things outside of yourself. But it's not because you don't have value. It's just because the people that are around you and the environment that you're in didn't need what you have to offer, or didn't value what you have to offer intrinsically that you were born with, or that's partly innate in you, or even a skill that you've developed. And so when you understand that, you can start putting yourself in environments and around people who value what you have to offer. And then you're not going to seek validation constantly outside of yourself, because you'll realize that the skills, talents, abilities, gifts that I have are inherently mine, and they're valuable and they're worthy. And everyone else is just like this too. Everyone else has worth and value too, because everyone else has something to offer too. So you start validating yourself for who you are and what you're naturally good at, and something that's truly just intrinsically part of you, and something that you've worked really, really hard or put a lot of time and effort into developing. And you start to recognize yourself, start to validate yourself. And what you're really seeking is your own validation and approval through other people. You're using other people as mirrors to get what you want, and cut the middleman out. Just give yourself what you want. Validate and approve of yourself. And this might feel so out of left field and very uncomfortable and not my phone almost dropped and not normal. But when you start to make that not normal normal and start to validate yourself, and instead of be critical, because if you're not validating yourself, you're being critical of yourself, right? So if you start to validate yourself and give yourself that stamp of approval that you're looking from other people, first of all, you're going to be more likely to receive that from other people, but you're going to start to feel good about yourself and the things that you do and the things that you create. Share with me in the comments something that you took out of this video, maybe a aha moment, a realization, or something you want to add on this subject of validation, and really it being self-sourced and coming from a place of your own self and putting your own stamp of approval on things and who you are.